Renowned psychiatrist Dr. Thomas Burchard had been missing for 3 days when his body was found in the trunk of an abandoned BMW in the desert outside of Las Vegas. Judy Earp, his girlfriend of 17 years, was back at their home in California and sensed the doctor was in trouble.
I told him repeatedly that these are not, the kind of people you want to be associating with.
Judy was worried about this woman, 25-year-old Playboy and Maxim model Kelsey Turner. Judy says Kelsey was extorting money from Dr. Burchard.
About $300,000 that I know about, and possibly more.
Burchard had a history of helping others and engaging with young, attractive girls he met online, like Kelsey. That's according to his friend, who did not want to be identified when he was interviewed by KSBW.
These women were just like an escape for him to have somewhere to go. He told me he met Kelsey on the website and met up with her, and they talked, and they went and had dinner a few times.
Dr. Burchard's friend says the psychiatrist started spending time and money on Kelsey, even renting this condo in Salinas, California for Kelsey and her mother to live along with Kelsey's child. Even after Dr. Burchard stopped paying the rent and Kelsey moved to Vegas, the two did keep in contact, and shortly before the murder, Kelsey reached out to the doctor, according to his friend.
He says, seems that Kelsey's having some trouble with her boyfriend out there in Vegas. He's hitting her, he's abusing her, and she has no money, nowhere to go, and I feel partly responsible for this.
Court documents show that Kelsey Turner was, in fact, reported as the victim in a domestic violence case less than a month before the doctor's murder. Dr. Burchard went to Vegas to see Kelsey, calling his girlfriend Judy only after he had arrived, saying he was spending the weekend and would be back on Monday.
I warned him on Saturday when he was there that, maybe you ought not wait till Monday to come home. Maybe you ought to just come home on the next flight.
After missing his flight and not responding to calls and texts, Judy called Las Vegas police. Dr. Burchard's body was found near Lake Mead, about 25 miles outside Vegas.
The actual incident occurred at a residence in the Las Vegas Valley, and then the body was found out by the lake.
This is the Las Vegas home where Kelsey and her boyfriend John Kennison were living and where investigators believe Dr. Burchard was murdered. Kelsey's roommate, Diana Pena, told a grand jury that Kennison attacked Dr. Burchard with a baseball bat, and that after the initial attack, Kelsey insisted that her boyfriend knock him out. Pena also testified that the attack left Kennison covered in blood. According to arrest warrants, police recovered a bag from the Rio Hotel. It's where prosecutors say Turner, Kennison, and Pena fled to after the murder. Inside that bag, investigators found sheets of paper ripped from Dr. Burchard's notebook that contained his banking information and passwords.
Additional information has come to light.
Kelsey Turner was arrested in California 3 weeks after police recovered Burchard's body. Her extradition was delayed after it was determined that she was pregnant. She has since given birth to a girl while in custody. Her boyfriend, John Kennison, was arrested a few weeks later in Las Vegas. Both are facing murder charges. Kelsey's roommate, Diana Pena, pleaded guilty to accessory to murder and is expected to testify at their trials.
All right, a lot to get through. Let's bring everybody back in. This one has a lot of elements, a lot of questions, but Ted, where exactly are we, first of all, in this case? How close do you think we are to a trial at this point?
Well, Kelsey was going to stand trial in June. Everything was ready to go. However, her defense attorney left the case about a month and a half ago, so now she has a public defender. And I spoke to someone who is very familiar with this case over the weekend, and that person told me, don't hold your breath. This thing is not going to go in June, likely won't go until fall at the very earliest. Bottom line, though, she's not facing the death penalty. That was on the table for a while, but prosecutors in Las Vegas decided not to pursue it in this case.
All right, let's take a look at first this defendant. And, okay, advantage or disadvantage in front of a jury to be a Playboy / Maxim model? Ashley, I'll start with you. I mean, does this help her or hurt her? Because it's going to have some impact, because this isn't your ordinary criminal defendant in a murder trial.
It is not your ordinary defendant, that's for sure. Although, who knows if the jurors are going to see all those boob pictures, you know, that she's taken, the bikini pictures and the Playboy Italia and all the rest, or whether they'll just see this girl in an orange jumpsuit with likely some very long, dark roots. I do think that it is a smart move, though, Vinny, in all seriousness, that they're not pursuing the death penalty, and not for any ethical reasons. So don't throw things at the television. I think it's smart because history has shown us that juries have a really tough time looking across a courtroom at a female defendant for whatever reason, right or wrong. They don't like doling out the death penalty to ladies. And you can just ask the Jodi Arias jurors if you don't believe me. It's just really, really hard. And then you add this pretty little 27-something-year-old new mother to all of that. And it's very hard to get that conviction. I also think in Casey Anthony's case, the whole death penalty part of the charges just was so much for a lot of those jurors. They just couldn't get over the leaps that the prosecutors were asking. So I think what Ted said is probably the smartest thing that those prosecutors did, and that is just take death off the table and hope for a conviction.
All right, Julie, what do you think of this defendant? I mean, going to be a little bit different than most criminal defendants that we get. You know, at the time she was 25, she'll be a little bit older at trial, but the victim's 71. I think people kind of read between the lines what the relationship may have been about.
Oh, sure. Absolutely, Vinny. No, I don't think she's going to garner any sympathy for that. And I just don't think she's famous enough for her work with Playboy to make any difference. She's not a household name. She's getting notoriety across the country, sadly, because of this murder accusation. And I think it was smart for them to remove the death penalty because when you have a co-defendant situation here, she and her boyfriend, John Kennison, are both charged, and jurors sometimes want to assess that culpability. And, well, was one of the actors far worse than the other? And so it can be somewhat hard. They may try to split the baby in that way. So this way, hey, a life in prison can be a terrible, terrible, and something it is a far worse punishment than death, depending on who you ask. So, yeah, I don't think she's going to garner a lot of sympathy, and she's going to get the fame more so from this case, sadly, than from her modeling work.
Now, Ted, 3 defendants, but 1 got the deal already. And I guess prosecutors must have been convinced that she was not a primary actor in all of this. And it was actually Kelsey and her boyfriend most responsible. What do we know about Diana Pena? And I guess she's the one that's going to take us inside what happened here.
Yeah, and she's really the state's case, especially against Kelsey, because nobody would realistically believe that Kelsey could pull this off by herself. And the brutality of the actual crime, where he was hit with a baseball bat multiple times, it just seems less of a female 25-year-old woman doing it. But this is the key to the state's case, is the roommate was there when it happened. And she was the first to go in and spill her guts. 4-hour interview with Las Vegas police and painted a picture. Said that first the boyfriend went in with the baseball bat, broke down the door, hammered him with the bat, and then she claimed, now of course it's her, she's telling her story. She said, I went in there and I loaded him into the car to take him to the hospital and had help with the boyfriend to load him into the car, and that was the plan. And then she says that Kelsey said, knock him out. And that is when she left for a little bit, came back, and saw that the boyfriend, John Kennison, was covered in blood, had a gun in his hand, didn't use the gun, didn't discharge it, but apparently she inferred that he used it to beat him to death, Dr. Bouchard. And that is such a compelling story. She will take the stand, and she will be the case, especially against Kelsey Turner.
Yeah, because the way I look at it, Ashley, you know where Kelsey's going. She's going to point the finger at her boyfriend. I mean, at this point, there's no reason not to. And say, well, he did it. I didn't do it. He's the one that had the bat. He had the gun. I'm a battered woman. I'm a victim. I'm the victim here.
Poor little victim. I'll tell you what, whenever I look at these cases, and it's easy to do it from the outside, it's harder to do it when you're a juror and you're only given certain pieces of information. But I feel like some of these deal makers are one step above jailhouse rat. They'll say anything to save their skin, and they'll point fingers at everyone else. And you better believe that this young woman's lawyer is going to bring that up at trial and trot that Diana Pena out and say, did you get a deal? Did you get something special from prosecutors for what you're saying out there today? So that'll be something that, you know, the jurors are going to have to take into account. And then there's this, Vinny. This man's body was found in the trunk of Kelsey's car. So either Kelsey is the dumbest criminal alive, leaving a dead body in her car, or she was framed or somebody wanted to have the body found in her car. So there's a couple of really ripe things, I think, for her defense attorneys to chew on.
Yeah, Julie, I'm looking at this, and the more I listen to the facts of this case, it almost sounds like she needs to testify.
Oh, you know what, Vinny, that's a great thought. You're always 3 steps ahead of everybody here. Yeah, that's a great, great thought there, right? Because, I mean, I don't know her criminal history. I don't know. But just a guess here, let's just say for the sake of the argument and the analysis that we're doing here, that she has no criminal history. What does she have to lose by getting up there? And if what she conveyed to this victim, if what she conveyed to Dr. Burchard was true, that she was a victim of domestic violence, she was being battered, she was in fear, she was in this abusive relationship, the jury may have some sympathy, and they may just buy into that story and the facts that Ashley and Ted were just laying out about perhaps it was the boyfriend who was more so the bad actor. Maybe it was him who came in that fit of rage, and there is some truth to that. So yes, if she takes the stand, she may just have a shot. And that all depends, of course, on whether he takes the stand too, and if you have those competing stories. But I love that you're thinking that way, Vinny. And if I had to venture a guess now, she probably will.
And Vinny, you know, one thing that she's got going for her is that that Kennison, he looks the part, right? I mean, he looks like Christopher McNabb, right? The jurors are going to look at him and say, "Oh gosh, yeah." You throw
look
in
at those tattoos.
Yeah, oh yeah, he looks mean, and then you throw in the established incident where he was accused of beating her. That's true. I think she's got a real shot here. It's going to be a fascinating trial to watch here on Court TV.
And Vinny, one more thing. For anybody out there who thinks that a little girl can't hit up and beat up a big old 71-year-old man, baloney. We covered a case on Court TV. I know you remember it. Hope Schreiner in Vermont, 71-year-old grandmother convicted of bludgeoning her husband to death in that driveway. So jurors can get their heads around little frail ladies actually committing brutal murders. They can.
We shall see. We'll continue to track it here on Court TV. Thank you, everyone.